All right. Good afternoon, everybody. The markets are closed. And we are ready for our little session today, guys. So we're going to give everyone a couple of minutes to get here. And then we are going to be off to the races. Let me get my screen set up here. I'll put my ugly mug up in the corner there. So, are you not entertained? This was some good trading post FOMC, and I don't usually say that. I'll be honest, guys. Usually, I sit out after the FOMC, and I will tell you for sure, I did not trade the first half hour after this. But boy, what a delicious VWAP tap trade, RTT trades. Basically, two of my bread and butter setups just fired off about 45 to 60 minutes after the market. It's wonderful when you get let's say you have five. I have about five particular setups that I play. Four are pretty strongly rules based. One is, and I always tell people to be rules based, but one is a little less than that, just kind of based on some things I'm seeing, and it's a smaller size thing. But regardless, when you get two of your trading setups fire at the same time in the same direction, yeah, that's it, guys. That's all you want to see, right? We all talk about making all this money in this game, and that's what we're all here for. If you're not here to make money, guys, get off the stream, right? But it is an opportunity to when everything slides together. If you can just stay afloat most days and then catch 2 to 3 really nice trades per week, and don't let those be canceled out by a couple of really bad trades, you're in pretty good shape, right? Okay, so yeah, everyone should be on the way. Okay. So guys, today we're going to be a little more informal today. Now tomorrow at this exact time, guys, I've got a really nice presentation planned for you guys. We're going to do my 3 biggest charting mistakes. So the 3 biggest mistakes that traders make on their charts. Right, and so we're going to talk about that tomorrow. We got an event now. We got an event tomorrow. Then I'm going to be on vacation for 3 weeks after that. So I will be kind of in and out of the Discord for any questions that anybody may have. I'm going to be doing some little bits of fun, like trading on the road things, because again, a lot of you guys have. You travel for work, you travel for family, you travel for whatever the case may be. So I'm going to be doing a series, kind of little vignettes on trading on the road and the things you need to make sure you plan for and all of that. So I'm looking forward to doing those because I'll be literally living them. So I'm going to be trading. I do most of my trading before lunch anyway. Probably about 75% of my trades occur before 11 o'clock Central Time, so noon Eastern. And there's some whole weeks I rarely make trades outside after lunch, especially if I'm doing well in the morning. I don't want to turn around and give that back in the afternoon. But I am going to be doing that. My 3 weeks, I'm going to be trading regular hours on week 1, very limited hours in week 2, and nothing at all on week 3. So I'm going to, I'll show you kind of my mobile setup, what I take with me on the road, things to watch out for, things to, I can't just, I'm trading with much less monitors, so I can't trade every single strategy and have every single tool. So what are the things you compromise? What are the things you don't? Again, I'm going to be putting together a little series of videos. I imagine some will end up on this Blue Sky web YouTube page. Some will end up on my personal web page. If you just search for Teresias Trading, you will find those as well. But once those start going up, we'll make you aware of that in the Discord. So, how did everybody do today in general? If anyone who's here just want to give me a green or red, and I know if I talk over you typing, I apologize. I just know some people get this immediately. Some people are on like a whole minute delay, depending on where in the world you are and the latency of your YouTube server. So, pardon me for not necessarily pausing for your response. So, huge red. Oof. Did you try to get cute after FOMC? That's probably a good thing to talk about here, guys, these big binary events. Let me ask you this. How many people either carried a trade into FOMC or initiated a trade within the first 10 minutes after the FOMC? So you had a trade going into 2 o'clock Eastern, or you made any trades between 2 and 2:10. Okay, that's good. Honestly, guys, one of the coolest things in this business. So I've said this before, but I worked for TradeStation for a couple years in there. They used to have an education department. Most brokerages don't even mess around with that kind of stuff because of some of the legal implications. And but one of the cool things, they flew us everywhere to do events, right? They flew us to, we did an event in Orange County, California, and then they had us on a plane 3 days later to New York. We were in Florida, we were in Chicago, we were all over the place. And so one of the cool things, I've met a lot of traders in person. And, when you go do these, like the Traders Expos, they had us do some of those. You go to the speakers area, the green room, that kind of stuff. You're able to meet, I've casually shaken hands with probably some of the bigger personalities you've seen on TV, but they're mostly entertainment, so I'm really not interested. No offense to Mr. Kramer, I'm not interested in picking Jim Cramer's brain on how to trade futures. If I want to know how to put it on an entertaining television show, I will ask him. But some of the real brains, and just to pick their, you would be shocked how many, maybe you wouldn't be, and as you get a little more into this business, how many of these traders that, listen, I could double my size and have double my success for the next 20 years, and I won't even scratch the surface of the money that these guys manage or make and all of that. Don't get me wrong, I'm doing just fine. I'm okay. But these guys are on a whole different level, right? And even they'll tell you, you're an idiot if you trade within the first few minutes of FOMC, right? There's just too much going on. The algos are there, the institutions are there, retail traders are panicking, people are switching positions. I mean, if you look on this chart here, hold on, let me get my drawing tools here. So I can so this was FOMC right here. So this was 1 Central, 2 o'clock Eastern FOMC decision. And again, for me, the first few minutes, it's just, there's nothing to do, right? And you often see an immediate reversal of the first few minutes, right? And we did see that. In fact, this pattern, guys, is one that, it's such small sample size, something like FOMC only happens a few times a year, that it's really tough to design systems on it. And FOMC announcements now are different than they were, 5 years ago, pre-COVID, different, after the subprime mess, before the subprime mess. So it's not like you can really design a system based around that. But I will tell you, after major events, guys, to see this type of move is not uncommon at all. A strong directional move, a retrace or a reversal of that move, and then eventually heading back in the original direction, right? So this initial move was right? I mean, if you got in here, you were in a little pain in this area, and then not so much, right? But at that point, it's kind of a guessing game, and so generally I stay out of that. But boy, this is I teach this particular strategy here. I mean, I teach simple patterns with market internals backup, right? So again, this is what we call a VWAP tap. It's also a multi-wick rejection. This was a very strong bearish signal at this point. I also teach what we call the RTT trend trade. It's the one I use Renko's on. There's an entry there, there's an entry there, and it's not just the pattern. There's other things going on behind the scenes for this. But it was, again, and I don't like the term sit on your hands because that implies you don't have a plan, and we always should have a plan in the markets, even if the plan is simply to not trade for a given 5 minutes, 15 minutes, whatever the case may be. So it's, yeah, it can be a challenge, but when you see your setups, and I told you, generally, I don't trade after FOMC, especially if the markets really go nuts for the first 5 or 10 minutes. Now, like, for example, if this had continued down, like if this candle was here, there's nothing for me to do at that point, right? Because I'm not trying to catch the falling knife, unless we get back up in this area here, and then and then it's a huge reversal, right? So, but something like this is just a really, really nice, again, a nice setup in this stage. So hopefully, I haven't checked in with my group yet because I was working on a couple other things and recording a couple of things. But hopefully, they did very well today. So anyone here in the 100K challenge? How you hanging in there? That was a great idea, by the way. I commend. I'm assuming that was Josh's idea. But that's a great thing. It's really interesting to watch that, guys. If you're not a part of it, make sure you're still catching the leaderboard. I don't know how many people are in it, guys, but let's just say 100. Maybe it's more, maybe it's less. I don't know if they put that number out there or not, so I don't want to say anything. But guys, I mean, by the end of this 30 days, if you didn't make a single trade, you may be in the top 10. right? It just goes to show you how difficult. That's not to discourage you. It just goes to show how difficult a day-to-day trading career is, right? It is almost nothing, guys, to make $5,000 on a single trade. It's almost nothing to lose $5,000 on a single trade, right? And especially in an eval account, or if you someday end up in a funded account, to do either of those things is not difficult. You can overload your position size. You can do either one of those things in 20 seconds. Okay. But to have day after day consistent success, whether you're just stacking up, again, we're sitting here. I don't know exactly how many trading days there were, but my guess is if you went back and looked at that leaderboard and you just made $250 a day, right? 4 out of the 5 days a week, you'd probably be at or near the top of that leaderboard, right? So if you're not in that, well, whether you're in the challenge or not, pay attention to that, because you've got a lot of traders over the course of it's 30 days, so it's probably about 20 to 23 trading sessions, and how difficult it can be to be consistently profitable, because you do a week-long competition. Honestly, any schmuck can win one of those, right? Because all you got to do is YOLO in 2 trades, be right on 2 coin flips, and be done, right? But to have this level of consistency over 30 days is really interesting, right? And to see that. So had anybody kind of picked that out on their own? I know that I have a few conversations with some of you from time to time. But I just, and again, guys, you're always welcome to message me on Discord. I'm Trader Matt in there. You're welcome to message me and get an invite to my server as well. Mine's not really active during the day. It's not really designed like Blue Skies. It's really just designed as more of a bulletin board for me to post events and stuff like that, which I do have a very special thing that I'm releasing tomorrow that I'm going to tell you a little bit about in a few minutes. And I'm going to talk about in detail at the event tomorrow. So the list for this, guys, was trading psychology Q&A. But I think today, now trading psychology plays a role in just about everything we're doing. But I want to open it up, guys, to any questions that you have, any trading related questions that you have. I want to completely open the floor, because I know these Wednesday events are a little less formal. So I really want to make sure you guys have the opportunity to ask some of the questions that you want, right? Because this is what I wanted when I was a newer trader, right? It's always aggravating to me. I'll do webinars from time to time under my own banner, right? And I'll invite people. Sometimes you got 20 people show up. Sometimes you have 500, right? And it always bugged me when I first got going. And actually, guys, in about 3 weeks, I'll be celebrating my 10th anniversary as a trader. I'm really excited about that. I had no idea where this journey would take me when I decided to do it. And the first few months were pretty painful, to be honest with you. I've said this before in here. I lost $40,000, right? Those first about 8 months. And you want to talk about, Mark Douglas talks about the trauma of losing money and how that can be perceived by your brain as legitimate emotional and mental trauma, right? Not to equate it with those that have been to war or dealt with something very severe in their life, but it's still a trauma. And anybody who's dealt with any of that in their life, or whether you find ways to cope with it, or you end up in therapy or something like that, you have to deal with that trauma, or you're never gonna get over it. And so many traders have that. Most traders, 99.9% of all traders, get their butts kicked by the market in the first couple of months, right? It just happens. It's just you pay your tuition, whether that's time, money. In most cases, it's both. But to get to that situation where you're able to overcome that, and I'll tell you, I'm 10 years into this. I've been very consistently profitable for quite a number of years now. It's opened up a lot of doors for me that I never thought would be opened. It's very, very, I will tell you guys, the last couple of weeks, I've been doing okay, but I haven't been hitting a lot of my goals. And a lot of it is just the style that I trade. It hasn't been, the last 2 or 3 weeks has not been very conducive, right? Whereas normally I'm making 3 to 5 trades a day. I went back and looked over the past 3 weeks, I'm averaging about 1.8 trades per day. Right. And some of those, to be honest, I'm pressing on it just because I talk myself into trades if I sit there for too long. So again, that's something I know that I do wrong, and I need to get up and walk away from time to time. but it's those little nags of doubt, right, still creep up your brainstem when you have a losing trade, guys, right? I had a very small losing trade this morning. It was only a loss of about $80. Okay, I was looking for a quick move on something. It didn't work. I got out of the trade. Okay, even just losing 0.001% of my account. I don't know what exact percentage, but was like, every losing trade, guys, you're going to have doubts creep into your head. And it's not about getting rid of those. They're always going to be there. It's about, not letting those affect your decision making and not letting you quit. So again, let me catch up on the questions here. Having issues with my eval. I have the right direction, but my drawdown takes me out, even on one mini. If I have to switch to micros, it takes forever to build it out. I'm so down right now. Okay. Yeah. Well, first of all, thank you for sharing, Trading Park. Man, it's, you just hit it right there. Right. And again, I'm fairly new to the eval world, right? Like I started when I was with TradeStation, I was running an options room. One of the futures guys taught me futures. This was about 4 years ago, 4.5 years ago. And I spent about 6 months on the sim trading futures, built out my own strategies, learned some from a couple people, and then kind of got going. And it was, first 6 months I was a yo-yo trader. I was very up and down, right? And then began to see some consistent profits. In the last 3 years, I made more money doing that than I ever did doing options. And I did pretty well with that. So I understand, right? I understand the process of this. So it's a catch-22, right? Because you're thinking, like you said, if I drop down to a certain position size, I won't get there quick enough, or but if I'm too big in size, I'm blowing out the account. Well, there's two separate parts to that. First of all, if you do not have winning strategies, I don't care if you're trading 1 micro or 15 minis. You're not going to be successful without winning strategies. If you're just getting into something because you think it's going to go up, or getting or shorting something because you think it's going to go down, and you don't have a structured system, then I don't care what your position size is. You're not going to be successful. Now, position size is another part of this, guys. So some of you have heard before. I had I've worked on since I left. You Can Trade, I did. I went back and did my own site, which I did several years ago as well. And so again, I am a full-time trader and a part-time educator, right? There are educators that spend 3 times as much time, selling courses and doing that as trading. I like having free time, guys, but I also like helping and coaching people. That was my first career, was coaching basketball. So it was a natural transition for me, but I don't have the attention span to do that for more than 8 to 10 hours a week, maybe, right? And I'd trade about 4 hours a day, typically, and then spend about another hour journaling and doing the other things you need to do to stay being successful. But lost my train of thought there. But anyway, yeah, basketball and trading. That's exactly it. But here's the thing, Trading Park. Again, so if you don't have successful strategies, the position size doesn't matter. Okay, but even with having successful strategies, you still have to have the ability to execute them, and B, the psychology to follow the plan, right? So you should have, like, for example, I just said, like for my VWAP tap, and I'm not, there's a ton of conditions to it, right? But in general, move up above the VWAP, and a move back below is an entry. We have a particular stop loss. We have a particular profit target. Okay, the guesswork is done. Okay, there is no guesswork. The 90% of the work of the trade is done before I get into the trade, right? Because I've designed, and this system it's a very basic system, but it's something that I learned from somebody, and I adjusted it. I added my own conditions to it, and I'm an aggressive trader. So I don't trade very, again, I don't trade. People hear aggressive trader, they think 25 trades per day. I'm an aggressive trader on my entries, but I still only trade a few times a day. I'm eager to catch that extra, 10 handles in the NQ, that extra 5 handles in the ES, and I'm willing to be wrong a few more percentage times to to get that right. And I try to check the math on that every year and see if I need to adjust or be more aggressive or less aggressive. I think again, I could probably add 1 or 2% to my winning percentage if I spent 50 hours working on it. At the end of the day, the end of the week, the end of the month, my P&L, I'm pretty happy with it. Yes, though, there will be a time I'm going to need to increase position sizes and maybe work on trying to find that extra 2 or 3% winning percentage, and I'll do that. But right now, I'm just, like I said, I'm trying to find a nice balance with the stuff that I do. But yeah, I had some clients reach out to me on these funded trader programs because I'd ignored them. I'd never paid attention to the emails and all that kind of stuff because I have my capital. What do I need them for? But I think it was last December, I had clients asking about it, so I reached out to a few. Blue Sky was the first one to reach back. So, I've made the acquaintance of, some of the guys that are not here anymore, but especially Josh, Mike, those guys that do just a fantastic job with this place. And, so, so I had to learn how to do this stuff, right? And if I'm going to coach traders that are trying to pass evals, I've got to go out and do them, right? And I set up I have my own rhythmic feed that I use to trade, that's connected to my brokerage account, connected to my platform. When I set that up a few years ago, I had to do it all manually. It's not like you can't, pop in for 10 seconds on a site and set it up. It's so easy now, right, guys? And that has its advantages and disadvantages, right? It's the barriers to entry to day trading futures now is next to nothing, right? And that has its advantages and its drawbacks. But I will say this: if you're in a standard $50,000 account, so you got to make essentially $3,000 before you have any drawdown off the top of $2,000. You got 30 days. What the hell's your hurry? Right? Everyone wants to pass this thing in 2 days, and then, I'm gonna pass it in 3 days because of the consistency rules, and I'm just gonna trade 1 micro every day. What the hell is your hurry? You've got 30 days before it renews, and if you have to pay the renewal, who cares? Think about what the ultimate goal is. The ultimate goal is not to get funded. That's step one. Getting funded is step one. Step two is building up that funded account. Step three is to make consistent gradual withdrawals, but not so much that you, especially in Blue Sky, which eventually puts you in a live brokerage account. If you have success in the eval, you have success in the Blue Live, you go to a live brokerage account. Personally, guys, I would never go to any firm that has I think Josh has said this, has some sort of consistency rule in funded or has certain limits as to how often or when you can withdraw. That means you're in a live sim. You're not in a real brokerage account. And their business model is not to, again, you saw this with that company that just got busted. Now, that was Forex. That's a different thing. But they were creating all these, situations to fail people out of their accounts. For a company like, and again, I don't know all the rules for all the different ones. I just haven't spent that much time on it. But like for Blue Sky or Firm A, that eventually puts you in a brokerage account and you get, say, 90% of your winnings, which is a lot better than what the old sit-down prop firms used to do. Why their best interest is you to be in a live account and doing well. Okay, that is their business plan, right? Again, if I were to give somebody, first of all, if I were to give somebody, $50,000 worth of buying power of my money, I'd be putting you through a hell of a lot more steps than these guys do here. I can tell you that. But if I'm doing that and I get a cut of your winnings, I'm going to do everything I can to help you be successful, which is why they do events like this, which is why they do one-on-one coaching and funded, which is why, again, you have somebody you have Mike in there every day talking through the markets, and that's the setup, right? So again, honestly, reduce your position size. So I'm still answering your question here 20 minutes later, Trading Park. I would go down to 5 micros, no more. Okay. If you have winning strategies and you're in, even if you're in the high level accounts, but let's just say a $50,000 account, 5 micros with winning strategies in 30 days, you'll get there. Okay, so honestly, I know this sounds kind of harsh, but I'm not trying to hear the position size excuse, because that's what it is. It's an excuse. Okay, yeah, 1 micro in a $100,000 account may not get you where you're trying to go in 30 days, but 5 micros in a $50,000 account, and you have basically 20. Oh, it depends on the day, on the month, and how it's organized, but basically 20 to 23 sessions to do that. I'm sorry, you can do that with 5 micros if you have a winning system. Okay, don't confuse bad position sizing for lack of a winning system or lack of winning plays. Yeah. Once you get the right strategy, everything else falls in place. And I really say strategies, right? Taking P&L out of the equation, does that help? Honestly, that's a personal thing, Brian. I have worked with traders who it made a huge difference where we took the P&L off their screens. I've worked with some that it made a bigger difference in the positive by putting it on the screen, helped them preserve money. And I've had some it didn't seem to make one way or the other. So I would love to tell you and I've worked with about 250 traders in one-on-one scenarios. I've worked in chat rooms of 500 people. I've spoken in front of a couple thousand. I probably met 2,000-3,000 traders on a either individual basis or shaking hands at a event or something like that over the years. That's one of those things I don't have a definitive answer for you on. For me, I have my P&L on the screen, but that's I don't know that I'd do any better or worse taking it off. So, but I mean, try it the other way, right? Can I go over my stop loss strategy? Well, my stop loss strategy depends on my play. Again, I have one particular setup where my stop loss is one ATR, right? One ATR on the 5 minute. Guys, if you're struggling with stop loss, that can be a really good place to start. Oh, hi, little spider. I have a studio down in my basement here, so I get an occasional friend wandering around here. But anyway, sorry, he wanted to see what the NQ closed at, apparently. But yeah, again, so like for example, a good place to start. This is one of the things I always have on my chart, guys. This is ATR, average true range. I don't really want to go into. That's a good idea. I appreciate that. I don't know if that's Josh or Raj behind that, but we're gonna. I'm sure that will be put to an embarrassing use for me, but that's all right. The ATR, average true range, can be a really nice place to start, right? So, for example, the ATR. Now, it's a big ATR because of the FOMC, right? But if the ATR is at 25 and you're typically taking 30, 40 handle losses, maybe start at one ATR. Again, I use ATR on a 5 minute. I do not ever go below 5 minutes on my candlestick chart. I do about 25% of my trades and work is done on this Renko chart, and about 75% is over here on the candlestick chart. I am a huge believer in candlesticks. I am a disciple of Steve Neeson, who brought these things over. I'm actually working on a few micro courses for some certain candlestick stuff. Those will be available in the coming weeks, probably when I get back from vacation. But yeah, it's a that's a good Jimmy G. That's a good. That's a good thing there. Don't worry about the payouts, right? I mean, that's where we want to get. Don't get me wrong. People say, when I say, we don't focus on the process, not the profits, right? That's something I say quite a bit. People say, well, we're here to make money. Yeah. If you're not here to make money, get out. If you're doing this just as a hobby or some way to keep occupied, there's things that'll take up less of your time, less of your money, and less stress on your heart, right? But it is all about the process. As somebody who, again, spent several years coaching basketball, we used to have the phrase, players are made in the summer, teams are made in the winter, right? To work with a group of players over a 2 or 3 year basis and watch them develop and watch them put in the work and see how that develops. Honestly, guys, my first full year coaching on the high school level, when I was in college, I did it as an internship. Has helped me immensely in my trading, because you have over the course of a high school season, you probably have 60 practices, maybe 25, 30 games, and that doesn't count like summer workouts and individual stuff that you do. And you see how teams develop over the course of a year. It's the same way as a trader. You're not going to make huge strides in your trading day over day. Month over month, yeah, then they get a little bigger. Year over year, the strides get a little bigger. Those are the types of things that help you build out your career. And honestly, guys, there are prop firms like the prop firms, these funded trader firms like Blue Sky. Technically speaking, they're a prop firm. They set people up with capital to trade, and they get a small cut of that. There are in-person prop firms. Actually, I'm not sure how many are there, because I've been out of the loop for a few years between COVID and not working for a brokerage anymore. But there used to be a ton of them in New York and a ton of them in Chicago, and they hire people. They come in. You work a 9 to 5. You come in. Well, it's actually probably like 7 to 3 or 7 to 4. But you come in. You trade. They train you. You're on the simulator for in some cases, over a year. Then they decide if they're bringing you on full time or not. And then if they bring you on full time, they give you a very large portfolio. And in some cases, the split is 50-50, right? And they continue to train you and help you evolve at that point, right? So that's sort of a more traditional prop firm model. But that's again, the whole long-term thing here is to be building out that funded account. And again, we all talk about the payouts, and that's great. But especially when you're in a live brokerage account and there's no limits to the payout, what's your hurry, right? Now, I will caution. Some people say, "Well, I gotta take a little out because I gotta pay rent, or I gotta do this, or I gotta do that." I will say this, and this is gonna sound kind of harsh, but I'm gonna say it anyway. Almost everybody that I've met my entire career who needed to be successful in trading. I'm not talking about we all want to be successful, but are in those situations where you spent $100 on an eval, and within 2 months you need to be making $2,000 or you're going to get evicted. Go make that money someplace else, because that level of desperation, you will not be successful. I can almost guarantee it. I'm sure there's an outlier out there somewhere, especially with the literally millions of people getting into the futures world through these funded firms. But anybody who if you want to be successful and you're willing to work at it, I think you'll be successful. If you need to be successful and you bring that level of desperation into your trading, all you're going to do is end up with more frustration and wasted time. So if you're in a situation, you absolutely have to have, and obviously there's more and more of that with inflation and things going on. Honestly, do the best you can to find that through another way legally. That's the best advice I can give you in that situation. All right, let me catch up here. The static is interesting. So I've set up my RTrader Pro, my Rhythmic, to mimic eval accounts from time to time, right? And I'll just do it on a paper basis because I wanted to experience what it was like to go through these kinds of things. I haven't had these types of restrictions placed on my personal trading before. Probably really could have used them at the beginning, right? So I understand people's frustration with some of the rules or a trailing drawdown and all that. But again, if I'm giving you my money, even if I'm risking just the $2,000 or $3,000 of a pullback in a live brokerage account, you're gonna have to work for me for 6 months before I even consider that, and even then it's probably 50-50, right? So don't stress the rules. Again, I've yet to find a trading firm's rules that if you truly know what you're doing and you can manage your position size properly, that you wouldn't be successful on if you really know what you're doing and you have winning strategies and a winning mentality. Okay, that's it. So all right. Sometimes when I'm in drawdown or stressed out, I feel my tortoise scrapes and it calms me down. I hope that's not a euphemism for anything there, Brian. But yeah, it's, you feed your tortoise. I just wrote that as feel. I'm like, that's a little weird. No, you feed your tortoise. Hey, there you go, right? We can move a little faster than the tortoise, but we don't need to be moving as fast as the hare, right? And we all know how that story ended. But yeah, just honestly being very aware of yourself mentally is very important, guys, in this game, right? There are traders that, and listen, I mean, as I sit here right now, I'm not one of these, but would I ever have a problem with it? No. There are traders who go see psychologists to talk about their trading, right? That's becoming more of a common thing. I know for a fact there are specific psychologists that they don't maybe exclusively deal with traders, but that have whether it's traders, bankers, whatever, have some sort of level of financial understanding in Chicago that will meet with traders. There's a gentleman named Brent Steenbarger who wrote a couple of books. Do I have his? Where is it? I know I have it somewhere. Oh, here it is. Trading Psychology 2.0. This is a little more technical book because he was a psychologist who started working in trading as opposed to Mark Douglas, who was a trader who started working in psychology. But he, this is a guy who was a successful psychologist, started looking into trading, working with traders. He's basically on retainer for some of the biggest traders in New York right now. So that's, again, that field is very, very ripe. And so but again, also, I was just recording something, which I'll talk about in a couple of minutes, about an hour and a half ago, or no, it was before No, it's before. So where does the day go? Anyway, if you're bringing any anxiety or trauma or anything like that into your trading, it's gonna affect you, right? It's going to affect you. I like that we're in a world that where mental health, and especially men's mental health, is no longer like this taboo thing to talk about, right? Just shut up and deal with it is becoming less and less of a thing, and that's great from a trading perspective. There's a series of books called The Market Wizards. There's Market Wizards, Market Wizards 2, Stock Market Wizards, all this. Some are good, they're just interviews with traders. And I'll never forget a story I read in one of these. And I don't ask me which one it was, because I read these books so long ago, but it was a very successful Wall Street trader who had about a 12-year run of just killing it, right? Just was doing great. And had no psychological background, had no any reason to ever expect the two things interacted, right? And he had a really messy divorce, and then he tanked his trading for almost 18 months, and he never put those two things together, right? Like, the market conditions are ripe for my trading. So long story short, he spent a couple of months talking to a psychiatrist or psychologist. I don't think he was on medications, probably psychologist. Worked through a lot of the issues. Turns out he blamed himself for his divorce not being available because he was trading so much and he was running all this money on the street. And so he began to basically punish himself by taking less than ideal trades. Once he worked through that, he was able to begin having success again. And Mark Douglas talks about that as well. It's also a whole mentality, guys. Think about this. Almost every one of us in here at some point in our lives has worked an hourly job or a salary job, right? That's 99.9% of all jobs. Unless you're a trader or in like only commission-based sales, you are paid based on the time, right? Not necessarily the amount of work, but the time. So for those of us that, most of us had a flipping burgers job at some point. I'm no exception to that. If we worked in a situation where we make $10 an hour, I wish I made that when I was a kid, but and you work an 8-hour shift, at the end of the shift, you made $80. I know taxes, all that kind of stuff, but in general, if you have a $50,000 a year job and you don't get fired, you're, before taxes and all that, you're going to have $50,000 more dollars in your pocket over the course of a year. Trading's not like that. There are people in trading work 2 hours a day, make $5,000 and call it one. And then there's people that hustle and grind for a 6.5 hour trading day, and they're lucky if they make $50. Okay. Our brains are not wired for that. Our whole value system, our whole lives has been equating time worked to money earned, right? Obviously, like I said, there's a few exceptions to that. So it's a thing. It's definitely a thing. All right, any other questions, guys? I'm going to hang out probably another 10, 15 here. I got something I'm going to tease for tomorrow. I'm releasing a new course tomorrow. It's the first of a series of micro courses. See what I did there, the micro courses? They're going to be short courses, and they're going to be very cheap. On a variety of topics, including some of the plays that I do. I'm hoping to have a couple recorded and to be released over the next couple of weeks while I'm gone, and then I'm going to hit this down here the studio pretty good when I get back and start cranking them out, if there's reception to them. One of the challenges I faced in this last year, guys, from an education standpoint, is what do especially funded futures trading. You guys are the biggest growing group by far in the trading world, is retail traders. That's anyone who's not, doesn't work for a firm or is not a trader on the street. You're not in the pits, anything. You're a retail trader. You're not connected to any, you're making money for yourself. There has not been a growth of retail trading ever like we've seen since the pandemic. Right? Because A, everyone was stuck at home. B, companies like Blue Sky, so there were a couple around I know beforehand, but companies like Blue Sky began, to be, proliferated all over the place, right? And so the barriers to entry are next to nothing. And so to find, like, 5 years ago, somebody told me, okay, I want to be a successful options trader. There's always different paths to being successful when it comes to strategies and things like that. But in options, you have to, you have to understand, at least have a passing understanding of the Greeks. You got to know what you're buying, know spreads and know all of that kind of stuff. So it's a pretty, there's really only a couple of paths to that. In futures, and especially from a retail, evaluation to a funded trader point of view, people are coming from all different directions. There's so many roads to success. So one of the challenges you're seeing in my industry, the education side of things, is how do we reach these traders, right? What is the most effective way to teach somebody who maybe has next to no understanding of the markets prior to getting in, or just has followed them in a passing way, or God forbid you got hooked in it by some YouTube moron, driving around his rented Lamborghini. To get to that point, right? And so this past year, basically since I've been doing some work with Blue Sky, we've been throwing a bunch against the wall and seeing what sticks. Had some successes with a few things, some not so successful, right? And so that's part of the process. This is a whole new part of the industry that we're unlocking. So one of the things I'm trying, guys, now is, rather than hand you a course that's 10 hours long and I'm going to charge $1,000 for it, because those things take so long to put together, and often I bundle them with coaching and other stuff. I'm putting together a series. I've got about 5 planned right now. I hope to have 2 released before I leave, of micro courses, right? So we're talking, some will be 30 minutes, some will be 2 hours, but they'll be shorter courses, shorter videos, and a much lower price. So the first one that I'm going to release tomorrow, guys, and in fact I just finished putting together the 25 rules of day trading. Let me bring this over and blow this up for you guys. This is going to be released tomorrow, guys. During this event, I will send it live tomorrow when we're meeting. Okay, and these particular rules have been passed around for many years in various senses. They were originally put together by a gentleman named Doug Zielinski, who was I believe a bond trader in the pits for many years, right? And so this is it's going to end up being, I think, just shy, probably about an hour and a half. And guys, it's going to be $30 basically. $29. Anybody in marketing would have yelled at me for that. I'm gonna open this tomorrow. And again, it's going to be barely, less than half of the cost of a reset in Blue Sky. And I think hopefully if it prevents you from having to make one reset, you've gotten your money back on that. So I will give you more information about that. I will even tease a couple of the rules to you tomorrow during our event. I don't know if somebody's in here. I don't know if Blue Sky is doing a giveaway during that, but I will give away one of that mini course to somebody who's there live tomorrow. All right, guys, you got me for a few more minutes. Any other questions? So I'll give you a minute to type some stuff there. Well, Phoenix, I appreciate it. Yeah. Yeah, and like I said, I like doing these, right? And I like I don't do anything for free, but it's nice to work these events. I'm not going to say his name. Some of you may know who he is. He's a pretty famous options trader. He actually kind of literally wrote the book on trading options. I've done a couple events with him over the years, especially when I was with TS, but he's kind of actually a jerk in public or in private. Again, I'm not going to name anybody, but I remember his he's like Taylor Swift. He has a writer that, like, if you want him to come speak at her events, and he told me I don't get on a plane for less than $2,500. All right, man. Okay, good for you. But that's I like doing these kinds of things and connecting with people, because again, this particular trader, as many others, these guys got started in the pits, so they have some great knowledge of how the markets really work. But a pit trader from the 80s, if he didn't adapt to the market in the 90s and the 2000s and the electronic stuff, he's out of the game. Okay, so there is value, and honestly, guys, there is not many. I hate to tell you this, because it's going to sound a little self-serving, but this is true. There are not many traders, legitimate trading educators out there who, again, make much more money trading than they do in the education space, who got started and remain in the retail space. It's just not that rare, right? You got guys. I will tell you one person I've met over the years who's just a really, really nice guy, Tom Sosnoff from they're at Tasty Trade or Tasty Live or whatever they're calling it now, based in Chicago. I've done a number of events with him. He's a really, really friendly guy. But again, this was a guy that traded on the pits for many years in Chicago. That's how he got his knowledge. Now he's translated that knowledge very well. But again, there's just not that many people that have a full background as retail traders that don't have, that don't have an institutional background, because the majority of traders don't. 99% of new traders into the field have zero institutional background. So yeah, funny how much you used to spend on resets instead of course. And again, guys, don't get me wrong. I have some pretty expensive mentorship packages that I put together because it involves a lot of my personal time, right? And I don't think anyone should ever be upset about getting good compensation for their personal time. At the same time, don't ever buy something for more than really about $500, but especially more than $1,000 without really having a deep background on the person who's going to be doing that, right? I will tell you this. This is a little story, is that I spent several $1,000s on a mentorship program when I first started that advertised all this. You can't say you're somebody's mentor if you don't spend at least a few hours with them in a one-on-one setting. We can do that via Zoom, right? But I had a grand total of 1 half-hour conversation with my mentor, and what was supposed to be a small, intimate Zoom trading room, it was me and 500 of my closest friends. So you do that math, and you can see how much money is in this business. But, so even though I didn't learn much from that particular individual, I met 4 other traders that we formed a small little group, and we just rode the hell out of each other in terms of staying on it, right? Like, hey, what were the trades you made today? Why'd you make this trade? This is, keeping each other honest, keeping each other accountable, and that knowing what I know now and knowing what I got out of that, even if it wasn't from the mentor, I'd pay 10 times what I paid for that because of how much money it's made. The lessons and the rules from that over the years have stuck with me. All right, guys, I'm going to give you a 2-minute last call for questions, and then we'll wrap up this session. So again, tomorrow at 4 o'clock, same time. We're going to do a little bigger event here. I'm going to talk about the 3 biggest charting mistakes that traders make. And we'll go from there. 1 minute, last call on any questions. But yeah, guys, that it always used to annoy me when people would do events and then not leave at least a few minutes for questions, right? I've done a number of unfortunately, I love traveling and meeting people in person, right? Almost all the conferences are virtual now, and the ones that aren't, they want to charge the speakers instead of inviting speakers. Like, I went to a lot of events, nobody was paying me to be there, but I was giving them credibility by being there, and me and some of my colleagues and this and that. Now everybody wants, you want to go to a money show now, they're going to charge you 10 grand just to speak. So that's that's a thing. Don't get me started on that part of the bit. Like I said, I love trading education. I hate the business of trading education. Always have. It is tough to find a good accountability partner, but it's important, right? And again, unfortunately, we're in a situation, and Blue Sky, I'm sure, is in the exact same situation I am because of a lot of privacy laws and stuff like that. Like, we can't give out client information. So you don't want us doing that, right? You don't want us giving out your email or any of your personal info to anybody. So it can make it difficult. But honestly, if you're a part of a couple of Discords, the Blue Sky Discord is pretty decent. Find somebody maybe that you've noticed it makes some helpful conversations or ask some helpful questions, and take the initiative to reach out to them, right? If it's not a thing, or if they turn out to kind of be weird or something, you can always block them. Or obviously, if somebody's harassing you within a server, if it's my server, let me know. I've had zero problems with that. Or if it's a Blue Sky server, I'm sure you let somebody like Josh know, they can handle it. But yeah, that was hugely important for me. We had a group of there was 5 of us. Well, 6 for part of the time. There were 5 of us that over the course of about 2 years, we met twice a week. Now, yeah, there were holidays or sometimes people couldn't be there, but there was almost always 3 to 4 to 5 people in the group meetings twice a week after the markets, helping each other stay accountable. And that I contribute that to so much of my success. Actually, of those 5 people who are regular attendees, 4 are still regular traders and trading profitably, and the other one, she got a 7-figure job at a management company and doesn't have time to trade, but definitely doesn't need to anymore. So yeah, you can form your own connections there. Obviously, do not ever give out personal information. Just a Discord username is more than enough for people to talk about. And again, we cannot facilitate any of that just because of privacy laws. And even without those, I wouldn't ever want to be in that situation. So there you go. See, we had a connection there, right there. That's wonderful. I like that. So, and again, you're always, again, I don't have time to have, 40 conversations during the day because I'm trading, but you're always welcome to message me with any questions that you have. Again, just give me some time to respond. I try all emails and all direct messages. I always try to respond. I always respond personally. My company is literally me. But I try to get back to everybody within 24 hours, usually by the end of any given day. So, yeah, absolutely, Trading Park. Stick with it. Reduce your position size. Try it with 5 micros and stick with it. Don't get discouraged. Okay? Stick with it. All right, my friends. It was wonderful conversing with you today. Tomorrow, 4 o'clock, 3 biggest charting mistakes that traders make. I'm giving away one of my courses, and I will be officially opening enrollment for our first micro course. I'm really excited for it. So, at a $30 price point, guys, either I absolutely have no salesmanship ability, whatever, or we're going to get a lot of people enrolling in that. So I'm really looking forward to that. There's also, I'm going to, just for tomorrow, if you purchase it tomorrow on day 1, I'm attaching one of my full-length courses on trading as a business. I'll give you more information on that tomorrow. But it's basically something I used to sell. I haven't put it on the new site yet, but I used to sell it for $500 a pop, and I'm attaching it to this thing for no extra cost. So, and eventually I will raise the prices on these micro courses. I want a low barrier to entry to start. So, in the meantime, I will see you guys tomorrow at 4 o'clock Eastern, right on the same Matt time, same Discord channel or YouTube channel. But I'm in the Discord as well. Have a great rest of your day, guys. I will see you tomorrow.